2004. Thank you.
No decisions taken as yet on the future of the library service. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And last but not least, Ixworth Library, 1377.
Another one.
I have signatures from Alton Broad, from Bungay, and also represents Stradbroke as well. Thank you.
Library closures. It is about finding out what local communities want to do with their libraries, and we want to work in partnership to avoid closures. So I'd just like to emphasise that.
With respect, Councillor Terry, in 1 week alone I collected 1,400 plus signatures. I have written to you twice. You did say on Radio Suffolk this morning that you were listening and communicating.
We are.
That's why we're sceptical here. And this morning you also said that 2 libraries may be in the closure at the end of Mark Murphy.
I didn't specifically say any
Which
libraries.
ones?
I said that there may be some closures, but the consultation is not about closure. It's about making sure.
We need to know where the cuts could be made.
Well, we don't know yet because we're taking into account everything that people are saying to us, and there will be a report going to Cabinet in July, and then that will be followed by a detailed consultation to ensure that everyone's views are taken into account.
So there's 14,000 plus signatures at present, and it's rising.
Yes,
So is one of the options, Councillor Terry, is one of the options keeping all the libraries open? That's what we'd like to know.
Options at the moment. We don't want to have any closures, but we do have to make significant savings.
And will the new leader make a difference? Will you be revising the whole approach to this library?
The new leader is fully involved in the decision making.
Well, I would think so.
So we're not as good as Norfolk then if we call the libraries. What about Norfolk? Norfolk and Essex, they keep all the libraries.
I read that there have been 15 bids put in.
Well, we've had another one this morning.
16. So if you subtract 16 from the original, was it 29? I think we're already looking at a number of libraries that will
I have been very clear from the outset that all libraries are included in the consultation and that we don't want to see any closures. So that is the basis on which we're working at the moment to see how we can make the savings without any closures. But there may have to be some closures, or we may have to deliver some library services in a different way. But our emphasis is on not closing libraries. And we are doing a consultation which other local authorities are not doing. They are closing libraries in the Isle of Wight without any consultation whatsoever. In other areas they're reducing hours and they're closing libraries. We do not want to do that. We want to hear what the people in Suffolk are saying, and we are listening to people. And that's really all I have to say at the moment, because the consultation doesn't end until the end of this month. And then we have to analyse all the responses.
But what about Norfolk and Essex? They're not closing libraries and they're not trying to sell them off. They're not trying to get
We're not selling them off.
Can you tell me the Rosehill libraries?
Why can Norfolk and Essex do it?
In Rosehill, we're very concerned that the community group was talking about the possibility of selling the library and moving it somewhere else. Is that something that the council would consider a viable option?
We've had very detailed discussions already with some of the Rosehill groups, and it's up to them to put forward their proposals. The council has no intention of selling the building or selling the site.
So that's not something that the council would entertain the idea of?
It depends on what comes forward from the local community groups. If that's an option that they want to put forward, then the council may listen to it. But they have to put forward a proposal. There's nothing else I can say at this stage.
Could you tell me, or perhaps the council could clarify, in terms of community groups, what your understanding of a community group is and what the legitimacy of that group would be, how it will achieve accountability to the local population? Because I'm a member of Rosehill Library, I don't want my library to be sold. So how is this balance going to be struck?
That is going to be all part of the analysis that we'll be doing after the end of this month, when we look at...
Judy, can I ask you, if the consultation is so open and you want to listen to the people of Suffolk, why is it that when I served a Freedom of Information Act request asking for the consultation responses to be made public, Suffolk County Council declined to do it and said they wouldn't release it until after the decision has been made in the July Cabinet? How is that accountable and open?
That is an error. the decisions, when the Cabinet report is put to Cabinet, when those papers are released, all the documentation will be released at the same time.
If you're
Well, it's gone to the Information Commissioner, so...
If you're so transparent and open, how is it that the library in Northgate Street has already started cancelling subscriptions to important journals like the London Review of Books without telling anybody whatsoever?
Well, I wasn't aware of that, and they certainly don't get that from the councillors or the Cabinet. No one has been told to reduce any expenditure on that sort of thing. Well, I wasn't aware of that.
I think I feel very reassured that this is going to be open and transparent. I will be making a Freedom of Information request this afternoon because I'd like to see the methodology that's being used to analyse this consultation. I'd like to know exactly what the rationale will be.
I think it would be really helpful if you could just wait for the Cabinet report because we are absolutely determined to avoid library closures, and we do have a very clever way, we think, of resolving the issue. So please just...
Why don't you tell us what it is, Judy?
I'm very interested in the clever way that you're going to analyse everything, and perhaps as a member of the public and as a taxpayer, I'd quite like to know what that's going to involve.
Well, by all means, you don't need to ask for a freedom of information. Just write and ask for the information. You don't need to make an FOI.
So if I write
excuse me here.
The methodology, you'll send it to me.
Excuse me here. But in fact, no.
If you want to make an issue of it like that, I would suggest that you just ask for information. We have nothing to hide.
Right, okay, you have just answered that the methodology would be available and simply ask for it. When I and other people here met you in this building some time ago, we asked for that information. We were told that that information would be provided later. It was not provided later, and despite further requests.
Well, it will be provided.
When?
We've had more than 2,500 people responding to the consultation. 2,500 people requires a great deal of work on officers' part.
But when you designed the consultation, presumably you designed the methodology and the method statement and the coding grid that you used to analyse the response.
The information will be available. We have to analyse this from the following during May, and that's what we will do. And I really don't. I'm sorry, I don't. Because they are using a different method of doing it. We want to keep our libraries open.
They care more, I think, is the answer.
I think that's wrong, Kathy. I'm sorry. Well, you don't understand what they're trying to achieve, and I think
I do, because I was...
We don't understand. We're too stupid to understand. We don't understand.
You'll be surprised at the way we're taking this forward. So that's all I have to say.
We hope so, Judy.
That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Because we don't understand.
Okay, so we'll have the methodology.